Breaking news out of Pretoria, South Africa. This woman, you're going to see, one of Reeva Steenkamp's close friends says that Pistorius threatened her in court today. Kim Myers' attorney said this: "My client, Kim Myers, was approached by Oscar Pistorius in court today, and in a very sinister tone was asked, 'How can you sleep at night?' My client views this unwelcome approach as extremely disturbing." So, will this affect the trial? Christy, what did the prosecution have to say about this?
Well, South Africa's National Prosecuting Authority said to us, Joey, quote, "NPA cannot do anything about this remark. In law, we cannot get involved. The Myers family lawyer that made the report was advised to deal with the matter as they deem fit." Joey, does that seem right to you?
It certainly doesn't, and I'm wondering, I have my thoughts, but I want to know what the Dream Team thinks about it, Christy, so let's bring them in. Darren Kavanoki, Kimberly Priest-Johnson. Darren, let me ask you, is this how things are handled? As a prosecutor, you just say, I can't do anything about it. It's not my problem. Does that seem right, as Christy mentioned to me?
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem right, and maybe it speaks to the differences between the justice system here in the United States and the one that we're talking about now in South Africa. I can only imagine that we would have an entirely different scenario play out in court if this kind of activity was happening during a trial in the United States. They would use the defendant's acts during trial as some kind of an admission. The jurors would certainly be hearing about it, and it could be very dangerous in terms of affecting the outcome. You know, we often talk about trials in the United States as being like theater, where everything that the defendant is doing is scrutinized. The jurors are always watching. It would be an entirely different result here.
Well, Darren, I know your trials are like theater, so it's all good. But, you know, Kimberly, when I look at this, at least say, if you're the prosecution, we're going to investigate, we'll find out. I mean, was this even really a threat, right? I mean, do something as opposed to say, sorry, can't do anything about it, too bad, so sad. I mean, what are your thoughts about it?
Right, although I think, Joey, because we have a system in South Africa where there's only a judge making the decision as opposed to a jury, we would need to approach that conduct differently here in efforts to for a jury to hear this, right? If we were the prosecution, we would want the jury to know about the threat or alleged threat being made. In South Africa, I assume the judge is going to already know about this, and that's the only person that matters.
Very well stated. So, Christy, social media, the viewers have a lot to say about it.
They do, and some of them echo something that you just said. Danielle writes to us and says, "I think she doesn't know the meaning of the word threat." That's coming up a lot lately. Was it really a threat? Was it just a comment he made? Sophia wrote to us, "Threat? Laugh out loud." She should have just said, "Fine." And you? But then Philomena writes, "Not sure if that was a threat, but should he be saying anything to a witness? He's pretty cocky." Now, just to clarify, she's not a witness, right?
No, she hasn't been, Christy.
She hasn't been, okay.
That's what I'm interested in.
But it's still pretty cocky to walk up to, I kind of agree with Philomena. It's still kind of cocky to go up to anybody, especially her roommate, and say anything at all. Would his smartest move not be just go in, sit down, shut up, talk when you're asked, and leave?
See, Christy, with the Fifth Amendment, Darren,
I'm just asking.
right? Fifth Amendment, don't say anything. But you can't, Darren, you don't get penalized for cockiness, do you?
Well, you may. You know, the right to remain silent only does you a bit of good if you choose to exercise it, Joey. How many times have we seen, as lawyers, a client who tries to talk themselves out of trouble only talks themselves deeper into trouble? And here, in this particular case, if she's not a witness, as a result of making that comment, she may well turn into a witness. And also, you get into a deeper level of analysis, too. Once the defendant makes a comment to somebody, that person is a potential witness. They could get up on the stand and say the defendant said X, Y, Z. And if they embellish, now you get into this contest where the defendant is having to retake the stand and say, that's not what I said. It becomes a shouting match that you don't want to get into.
Darren breaking down the legal niceties of it. The Dream Team remains.
Or not so niceties.
Or not so nice.